welcome back, or welcome for the first time. Kim?
Hey, I'm Heather.
Hey, today we thought we would go just a little bit more in depth about our past. And actually the reason that we're doing that, not because we live in it, but there are some really good lessons in there. And I think there are many, many, many people out there that were just like us. Or maybe you thinking, oh, well, they weren't as bad as me. Well, you know, we're not comparing how bad we were, but the whole point of the whole thing is so you know, if I can be saved, so can you.
You're not the only one who's messed up. That's good to know.
For sure. Right. So
I forgot to switch cameras.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Here I go.
We're not camera people, and that's obvious.
I know. Again, I said it in the last episode, and I'm going to say it again, and I'll probably say it again in the future. Just be patient with us. This is a whole new deal. So, yeah, I was a hot mess. I was definitely I was selfish. Gosh, I was so selfish. And the biggest thing, I think, because it really dictated all of my actions and everything I did, is that I had a victim mindset. Everything that I was dealing with was always somebody else's fault. And I had been through stuff. And sure, I had. But there comes this point in your life, saved or not, Jesus or not, you need to act grown, own your own behavior. You know, so what if you did some stupid stuff and you made some mistakes, you know, but you have to admit it, and you have to just, okay, the consequences are what they are, and you need to roll and just move on with your life. And I couldn't do that for a very long time. You know, I blamed parents, I blamed spouses, boyfriends, lovers, fiancés, you know, just plain old bad luck, or I mean, whatever. If there was someone to blame, I was definitely doing it. And I could justify, that's the thing, as human beings, and I was the guiltiest, we can justify any behavior. I could totally make another person believe or think, you know, that me doing this drug or doing this thing or being in this relationship or acting this way, it was okay for me, it made sense for me, and then you were going to feel bad for me.
That's called manipulation, and we're really good at that.
Oh, so good. Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, that was it. Like, I had the victim mindset. I was selfish. It was all about me. Let's see, where else do we want to go? Seriously, where else do we want to go?
Well, we'll go to me then. I guess that's where we'll go.
We're going to Kim.
I came up in a household. My dad was insane, angry. In order for him to marry my mom, she said he had to quit drinking. So you know what? He did, and then he became vicious. My mom lived 47 years with being knocked down, and I used to go up in my room and pull my hair to hurt myself so I couldn't hear him hurting her. My true mother was raped, and I am the result of that, and she did not want me. So who I call my mom, who is now no longer with us, she's hanging out with God. But she took me as a single woman at 7, which later I'll tell you a really odd thing. But anyways, so she married who I called my father when I was 7. I remember the wedding. My first, I was a pretty good kid, an only kid, and they kind of taught me, here's the thing, that I could be whatever I wanted, and I didn't need a man. That was pounded into my brain. You can be the president. You can, and you don't need a man. Okay?
My mom taught me the exact opposite. You know, I definitely thought like that was going to be the answer to everything. And that was why, like, I thought sex was love. you know, and I thought that that was the only way that I wouldn't be rejected. And I didn't even realize I had rejection issues. So my mom kicks me out at 13. In my little heart, I'm rejected. I'm rejected. If my mom doesn't love me, then who's going to love me? But on the outside, do I have any idea what's actually going on there? So my very first boyfriend, like, I'm super into this guy, and I'm loving the Lord at this point, you know, and I'm like, listen, I'm going to wait until marriage, and you know, I'm not going to have sex until God brings me that person and we're married. And then, like, the next day in school, he meets me at my locker and was like, hey, were you serious about that whole not going to have sex until marriage thing? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Dude throws up the peace sign, doesn't even say a word. Peace. Okay? Walks right on out of my life. So guess what? The very next guy that comes into my life, virginity, gone, pregnant at 16, you know, I mean, just like, I thought the man was the answer. I thought sex was intimacy. I thought, I mean, all that. Like, that's crazy that you had the exact opposite.
Well, I did and I didn't. I did and I didn't.
Okay.
I did that gig too, of no sex with my high school boyfriend. And then he got another girlfriend because I wouldn't, all right? And she would. And actually, I think he married her, if I'm going to be honest, you know, so whatever with that. But I got married to a guy who'd been married. Well, first off, I got drunk with this first boyfriend. And the first time I drank a fifth of Jack Daniels over the course of some time. I threw up, and it was an ugly, ugly night, you know. But that is how I started all of that. That the drink led to more drinks and led to IV drug use and on and on and on.
Did you ever wake up and say, you know what, like, I think I want to be strung out on drugs. Like, I feel like that is the life for me. That is my dream. This is what I want. Did you ever wake up and...
Never.
No. When I was a kid, like, I was A's and B's. I was participating in after-school activities. In fact, I ran into a kid that I went to 6th grade with down in Evansville. I was an adult, and I was buying pills from him. But he was like, you? Honestly, like, you were the last person that I ever thought would be on drugs. Hey, that's the one.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like, that's
Right.
the one that the enemy goes after, and it starts off really small. You don't, because obviously you're not. Like, you have boundaries.
Well, and the thing, it takes many years to actually know that you have a problem. So, like, by the time I'd gotten to a point where I had to learn, I stopped trying to stop. I couldn't stop, okay? That was way gone. So I decided I've got to learn how to live on this and stay out of jail and keep my kids fed
Fix,
and blah,
manage,
blah,
and
blah, blah,
control.
blah. Right, that's where I was at. And you know, I have multiple regrets, you know, which we'll eventually cover, but one of my largest ones, I came home on a Friday night and I mixed 3 drugs. And I went into the bathroom. And I remember as I was done pushing the needle, I'm sliding down the bathroom wall. And I think, oh my gosh, this time I have done it. Okay. So then I wake up. And I'm on the floor of the bathroom. And when I go out and I open the bathroom door, which had been locked, and P.S., out there in the house, I have an 8-year-old, I have a 7-year-old, and I have a 4-year-old. That was Friday night. I opened the bathroom door to go out, and the whole outside of the bathroom door is damaged. I'm like, what, you know? It's daylight. That doesn't occur to me just yet. But anyways, I get out there. There's, what are those beans? You know, baked beans, cans laying around, tuna fish cans laying around, empty cereal boxes laying around. And there are the kids asleep on the family room floor amongst cans and wrappers and all kinds of things, and cartoons are on. We'll make a long story short, it was Sunday morning. So my 8-year-old knew not to call anybody, and she had been trying to get into the bathroom, and she fended for the children. That grieved me for so many years, I can't even tell you. But anyways, that wasn't enough to stop me, okay? That wasn't enough. I was up for a promotion, and I worked in an emergency room at that time, and I was going to be promoted on Monday, and I got arrested on Friday, and I went to jail. And of course, I dance in there, you know, and Monday for my promotion, and they're all looking at me like I'm crazy, you know. They're like, where you been all weekend? And I don't say anything, and they're like, Kim, you know, we know you were in jail all weekend. Well, you can imagine what word I said, and the second word of that was a you. And I got mad. Of course, they were correct. Do not put me in charge of anything, okay? I can't even be in charge of Kim. And I leave, and I go to the bar. Well, they have planted my friends at the bar. I walk in, have some nasty words, leave, go home, and get home, and they are there, and they got a little duffel bag. And they tell me that I can go to Marysville Prison, which is a prison for women in Ohio, or I can go for a drug and alcohol assessment. Well, you know, I know I can pass that. So off we go. They bought me a 6-pack of beer. I didn't pay attention to where we were driving, but we drove in a car an hour and a half away from my home. And then I got out and went in, and they left. So I had no wheels. I had nothing. And this wasn't a place that believed...
that 6-pack was gone, too.
Oh, it was very gone, about halfway there. You know, that they don't do methadone, they don't do Suboxone, they don't do any of that, girl. So I had really long hair then, and I wake up. I told my mom, I'm going to a medical conference, and I'll be gone for a couple days. That's why I tell my mom, she's watched my kids. You know, so I say to them, hey, when's this evaluation over? And they said, girl, yours was over about 2 minutes after you walked in the door. Well, then I was snake mad, right? But I got sick then, and I was sick. I was sick for about 3 weeks, like vomiting in my hair, and of course they let me be all nasty. And then they came in and kicked the bottom of my bed and said, well, hey, you know, you need to get up and get cleaned up. And of course I said nasty things. And they said, well, okay, see your parents that way. I don't care, they're out there. I died. I showered and I went out there. My mom and dad cried, and Mom said, hey, the sign out there said drug and alcohol rehabilitation center. Gosh, I didn't even know anything was wrong with you. Did you do drugs? And Daddy said, oh, I bet you she did that marijuana. So I had to have, oops, see, not for me. I had to have this conversation. Anyways, I left there 6.5 months later. And one day, a light bulb went off while I was there. And I knew I loved what was happening. I loved it. So about 5 years into being clean, I knew there had to be something else. And somehow I knew down in my heart that I had something going with God. I knew that, but I didn't know what it was. And that was about my first step into church. But I do want to say, you know, I want you guys to think about, have you ever stopped for a moment, no matter where you are in your life, okay? And you may think, I'm a pretty good person. You know, I do good deeds, and I'm an okay person, you know. But regret some time that you've just wasted. okay? And so you know what that feels like, okay? Well, that's a big difference, you know, being all caught up in that life I was talking about is a big black hole. Get high, do things I hate me for, get straight, can't stand me and get high again and do it all again. Multiple promises not to do it again and do it again and again. But this is different, you know, and what I'm talking about is, so if you've wasted some time and you regret that, and if you're young, you might just be talking about the weekend. You went to a weekend function and you could have been doing something else and you really regret that you did that. I just want to say real quickly, and then I'm going to give it back to Heather, but I practiced medicine for 35 years. And we'll talk later about why I don't now. But all of a sudden, it was gone. Everything, driving, practicing medicine, everything wiped out in 1 second. I went through a period of devastation. This was 4 years ago. And then one by one, I was delivered the life that I have today. If you want to talk about grief, I did a good service to many people for 35 years. I disappointed God. And that grief and that regret, I would say over the last few months, I've gotten a handle on that. But 4 years ago, when it all came to a halt, I was so grieved that I was not living the way that I live today. Look at what you're doing. And I know the career, the house, the car, the world judges your success by what? Money. That's not success. Trust me. And you can talk to anybody that walks with God today and is older and ask them about everything they did. And was that a regret that they did not serve the Lord the way that they do now in their later years? And you don't have to do that. Yeah, you can buy a house, you can buy a car, you can have a job, but the first things need to be first.
Thank you, Kim. I love your stories, and I love how honest and open you are about everything. So I think you guys can probably tell by now. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with Kim. Okay, so a couple points that came up to me. Here I am, back over here again, while Kim was talking. One, I'd like to just pull back the curtain a little bit on the spiritual aspect of things. You know, like, let's not be fooled by the enemy's tactics, okay? The enemy is smart. He's very smart, okay? No one has ever suggested that he's not. You know, do we have the authority when we walk in Christ? Yes, absolutely. But the enemy is still extremely intelligent. And if you're not wise to that, it's not very hard to get tripped up. I mean, he has spent thousands and thousands of years studying you. You know, not you, but like humanity. He knows our buttons, you know, psychology, all this stuff. Like, he knows us probably better than we do a lot of the time. But he is patient and can play the long game. Okay, so like, that's what I'm trying to, you know, pull the curtain back on. You know, neither one of us started out thinking this was the plan. This is what we were going to do for our lives. You know, it was this little attack, and then this little attack, and then this feeling, and then I'm going to throw in this disaster, and then because of A, B, C, and D that he planted, you know, all of a sudden this thing that I said I would never do, I'm doing it, or I'm thinking about it. Yeah. And then just over time. So the enemy plays the long game. So for those of you that are watching and you're like super young, I want you to look at some things that are happening in your life right now, you know, and like, I know it feels really big and it feels really painful and hurtful or whatever, but I need you to see it for what it is. You know, and we can dig more into that later. I just really wanted to touch on that. And the other thing was that there is a difference between being clean and being sober. I was sober for 1.5 years and still ran it right into the dirt before I got clean. And I had met a friend at a meeting one time. She actually was friends with my mom. I knew her when I was like 13 years old. And so here we are all these years later. She's in the same teeny tiny apartment, like no like real life, no true living in her life. And I was like, and she'd been in the program all those years that I hadn't seen her for years. Like she was there working the program. And like you said, after 5 years into your journey, you're like, there's got to be more than this. But she didn't care. Like she was fine and content to just stay right there.
We have that in church too.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. I mean, it is what you make it. You know, God's going to give you what you put in. I mean, like the relationship, the intimacy. Are you open? Are you willing? Are you obedient? Whatever. Like that's all on you. But the point was, there is a difference between being clean and being sober. So for those of you, you know, who have been sober for a while or who are just like baby Christian walk, like there's more, okay? There is more, trust me, you know, just hang on. We'll dig into that in future episodes. There's way more life for you. Much more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's real.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye.